Good afternoon. Welcome back to Downing Street for the government's daily briefing on coronavirus. The government's plan has always been to stop the spread of this disease, which is why the airports are still open and people who come through are not being quarantined. Our instructions remain clear. People should stay at home, protect the NHS and save lives. I would like to start today's briefing by stating that I shouldn't actually be taking it, but no one else can be bothered. It is a nice day and my best friends in the government wanted to go and sunbathe in their big gardens, so here I am doing it instead. It is not normal for me to be doing things like this. Usually I'm in my office answering emails, which is why I look a bit like I'm pooing myself. Because I am. This means I am not really qualified to be speaking here today and am in fact working above my pay grade. But in these unprecedented times, it calls for unprecedented measures that are unprecedented. Let's be clear, nobody knows where the Prime Minister is. So unfortunately, and for the foreseeable future, people like me will be the ones standing here confusing you. Luckily, in front of me, I have lots of words written down in an order, none of which I understand. But if I pause enough times, it sounds like I kind of know what I'm talking about. Words put together equal sentences, and sentences with lots of long words equal politics. First, I would like to pay tribute to the word unprecedented, because it has come in very useful in these unprecedented times. It is important to have long words which sound impressive during the daily briefings, because it makes me sound more official. I would like to address the criticism of the lack of testing that hasn't been going on in the United Kingdom, the United K, which is our country. We originally stated we were going to be doing 100,000 tests a day. What we meant was, if you use mathematics, you could actually get to the number 100,000. It's more close to 20,000 tests we've been doing a day. Add 30,000 onto the 20,000 and then times that by 2 and you get to the number we stated, 100,000. Now, let's have a look at the first slide. Now you can see here that the curve is flattening, which is a positive sign. All we need is the curve to flatten, and that means things are getting better and not as many people are getting the flu, COVID-19. A flattened curve is still a curve, but it is more straighter, and that is what we are aiming for. Curves tend to look like they are going upward, but we are aiming for them to go like this. To give you some perspective, you thickos, flat things tend to be straight, like a ruler, and curved things tend to have corners and bends, like the M25. The aim of the graph is to confuse you all and say the same as we always do, that the curve is flattening, and that is a good thing. Because this is an unprecedented curve, I would like to pay tribute to this unprecedented curve, and indeed the people who have done such a good job risking their lives to draw this unprecedented curve. Of course, we are aware of the necessity of getting more PPE to those working on the front line. It is essential that our essential workers are protected by having the essential protective equipment. Which is why today we can announce that we have been working with Mulberry, who are providing handbags to doctors and nurses who want them, and we are today announcing an unprecedented amount of PPE equipment arriving from Turkey in the next few years. We have put in an order of 15 million items, and we have today had confirmation that at least 15 of them will be delivered, with some complimentary Turkish delights, which is nice. Talking of our frontline workers, I would like to pay tribute to our NHS workers. As you are all aware, every Thursday evening at 8 p.m. or 2000 hours, we come together as a United Kingdom, the United K, our special country, to pay tribute to all our hero workers. We are all showing our support with the clapping of our hands, like this. This is a very special moment in an unprecedented week when we all come together and show our support. Nowhere is this more apparent than on Westminster Bridge, where our top officials and police leaders stand close together and have a clapping party. The images of this will stay with me forever, and therefore I would like to pay tribute to the bridge. Thank you, Westminster Bridge. Obviously, the rules of social distancing must still be adhered to. We understand that the sun is out and it can be tempting to leave your tiny studio flats to go out and have a long walk in the park. But you must only do this once and while following the social distancing rule. And it is essential that you are doing your essential exercising. If you are walking slow or stop to do your shoelaces up, our new Robocop drones may instruct you to speed up. And if you don't, we may squirt you with bleach. Of course, I understand that not everyone has a garden, and this makes it more difficult to cope with. But I wouldn't know anything about this because I have a very large garden. And that is why I would like to pay tribute to gardens everywhere and all the grass and green sacrifices they are giving us at present. It is essential that during these unprecedented times we follow the science. By following the science, we are able to put any failings in our handling of the situation and pandemic not on ourselves, but on the science. This is why we have been saying follow the science over and over again. To be frank, we don't know what science we're following, but the scientists we've been speaking to certainly do. But all I can tell you in the meantime is that we know for sure you must wash your hands, you dirty people. Today, we can announce that we are taking unprecedented measures to ensure the survival of our economy and our workers by offering a £1 trillion support system to all our workers. We, the government, promise to pay 80% of your wages up to £250,000 a month. This is an unprecedented scheme, the like of which hasn't been seen anywhere else in this unprecedented world. This is only happening in the United Kingdom, which is where you and I are. To you workers, we will make this money easily accessible, and all you need to do is go onto the Gov website and fill in the relevant details stating that you've never had a day sick, you've never been late to work, never slept with someone you've worked with, and have always paid your tax on time. This means most workers will get the money they deserve. Of course, some people will fall through the cracks, and to this there is universal credit. And this is available to anybody who has less than £100 in savings. And to everybody else, help will be out there eventually. You'll just have to bear with us while we figure out what the hell to do. We are the government and don't really understand what self-employed people do. But we promise to look that word up in the dictionary as soon as we get the time. And please wash your hands, you dirty people. Now, I think we're going to be moving on to some questions. Yes, thank you.
When do you see this lockdown ending?
The lockdown ending, right. Well, first of all, I'd like to pay tribute to the lockdown. It has given us a good chance to make sure people stay at home, and it is a very good word. We undoubtedly are aware that this is an unprecedented time and how being in a lockdown can affect an individual. And we foresee this lockdown finishing at some point in the future.
Can you be more specific?
We have to follow the science. So when we get the Bunsen burners and disinfectant back from America, we will be able to finish the science experiment and then we'll know more. Next, please. Thank you.
Do you think we have now hit the peak?
The peak. Thank you for that question. I'll answer that one. I think very clearly, looking at the curve, it is flattening, which tells us that during these unprecedented times, a curve may go upwards or start to flatten out. Now, of course, as you ask, the Peak District has lots of hills, which have lots of curves and peaks and flattened bits and more peaks. However, we must still insist and implore you, the people, to still adhere by the rules and not travel to places like the Peak District to do your one-a-day exercise. You must stay near your home, unless you don't want to, of course. Yes, next.
There have been reports of shoplifting offences. What measures are you taking to stop this?
Well, actually, shoplifting has fallen dramatically during the lockdown, which is mainly because most of the shops are closed. And may I take this opportunity to pay tribute to the shops that have closed, and indeed those that are open during these unprecedented times. Unprecedented. Yes, thank you.
What do you think about Secret Sage Committee of Scientists and Advisors, and more importantly, Dominic Cummings' involvement?
Well, first of all, we must follow the science, which is why we need the scientists, because without the scientists, we would not know anything about the science, because none of us studied science at Eton. And regarding Dominic Cummings, I can tell you he washes his hands very vigorously. And I should know. I've seen him in the Downing Street toilets. And I'm afraid that's all we're going to have time for today, because I don't know what else to say. Because, as I said earlier, I shouldn't really be here. And I'm really looking forward to driving home to be in my large garden and my beautiful wife and my swimming pool. Finally, during these unprecedented times, we must follow the science to enable the curve to flatten by staying at home to save the NHS and save lives. Unprecedented. What? Oh, they found Boris. Oh, thank God. Right. Cheerio. Oh. Okay, great. Anyone fancy one of those Cobra meetings? Yeah? Great. All right, follow me.